It's cryptic out there.
The disappearance of Israel Ray Smith. On March 10, 2008, 28-year-old Israel Ray Smith vanished from Wytheville, Virginia, leaving behind a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. Smith, born on January 18, 1980, was a dependable worker, a devoted father, and a man with no history of instability. His sudden disappearance has puzzled investigators, family members, and the community for more than a decade. Smith was known for his reliability, a family-oriented man. He worked at the local Radio Shack and was considered an excellent employee who rarely missed a shift. Coworkers and family described him as punctual, hardworking, and steady in his daily routines. He was also the father of a 7-year-old boy whom he visited on most weekends. Friends and relatives stressed that Smith was deeply devoted to his son and would not abandon him voluntarily. March 10th began like any other day. Smith completed his evening shift at Radio Shack, reportedly telling colleagues that he would see them tomorrow. That was the last confirmed sighting of him. Earlier in that day, he had spoken to his mother by phone, and later that evening, he stopped briefly at his brother's home before returning to his own apartment. After that point, he was never seen again. When Smith's family tried to reach him in the days following his disappearance, they were met with silence. His mother visited his apartment several times during the week, noticing his vehicle, a green 1992 Ford Explorer, still parked outside. On March 14th, she found both the apartment door and his vehicle unlocked. Inside, the scene was unsettling. The television and lights were on, a game controller was left connected on the floor, and his keys sat on the coffee table. His laundry was still in the vehicle. Nothing suggested he had packed or planned to leave. Police performed a welfare check and found no evidence of forced entry, no signs of violence, and no indication of robbery. All of Smith's belongings were undisturbed, including his wallet and personal items. His phone went straight to voicemail, and there was no bank or online activity after March 10th. Authorities investigated possible connections to acquaintances and briefly considered a woman Smith had recently dated. Though she was cleared of suspicion despite interviews and searches, no strong leads emerged. Investigators later admitted that they believed foul play was the most likely explanation. A lead detective publicly stated that he was convinced Smith had been killed and that someone in the community held the key to solving the case. For Smith's family, his disappearance has been devastating. His mother has consistently emphasized that he would never have left his young son without explanation. The sudden silence from such a responsible, family-centered man only deepened fears that something terrible happened to him. Over the years, Smith's case has drawn attention from missing person organizations and true crime researchers, ensuring that his story has not been forgotten. As of today, Smith's disappearance remains unsolved. The trail left behind is both eerie and sparse. An unlocked home, a running television, a vehicle left untouched, and no trace of Smith himself. So we received an anonymous source about Israel and their take on the story. My parents owned the Radio Shack Israel was employed at. My parents both thought a lot of him, as they did all their employees. If you worked for them, you weren't just their employees, they viewed you as their friend. Unfortunately, both of my parents are now deceased, so I'll be telling their version of events based off my memory and news reports as well. I was 8 years old when Israel disappeared, so I have very vague memories about him. However, I remember being a kid and running around my parents' store, and he was always kind and patient with me, even when I was running around behind the counter and pulling things off shelves and playing with them. Knowing he had to clean it if my dad or mom was busy with a customer, he always smiled and put things back where they belonged. It makes sense that he was patient with kids, as he has a son around my age who he absolutely adored. My dad told me he was excited to get off work when he knew he had to go pick up his son. By all accounts, he was an outstanding father. Israel had a great work ethic, he rarely called in, and a great and positive attitude, and some of my dad's former employees also remember how friendly he was and how well he got along with the customers. He told my dad and his other coworkers how much he loved working there and how thankful he was to have his job there. I'm glad my parents were able to give him a work environment he felt confident and comfortable in. The story I was told by my parents was on March 10th, 2008. Israel finished up his shift and told his assistant manager, Charlie, also now deceased, "See you tomorrow," and vanished. My mom became concerned when he hadn't shown up for work in a couple of days, which was not like him at all. He didn't cash in his paycheck, and he wasn't answering phone calls. My mom decided to call the police and have them do a welfare check. He told me when the police got there, Israel's door was slightly opened. His TV and gaming system was still on. His car and his keys were there, but Israel was nowhere to be found. My mom told me they launched a missing persons investigation from there. She told me they brought in dive teams to search World Retreat Lake, Crater Lake, and the New River, as well as cadaver dogs to search the woods and mountains in the area, and still nothing. No bank card or cell phone activity. He was just gone. And still today, 17 years later, he's still gone without a trace. My dad was very adamant that he didn't believe he left his own free will. My dad said he could never see him leaving his son like that, especially without so much as a goodbye. His case still open despite police running out of leads. My parents died without knowing what happened to their friend, and I know it has deeply upset and affected both of them. He left behind a family that loved him. I can't imagine what that must feel like for them, and it's gut-wrenching to think about that being one of your own. My hometown is not a big area. Everyone knows everyone, and I know somebody out there has got to know something. Israel was a good person, a good dad, son, and good friend, and everyone I've spoken with who knew him personally has never said a bad thing about him. I truly hope one day his family will get the answers they need, and we can bring Wytheville's largest and one of our only unsolved mysteries to a close. To think there are so many people in this area who have no idea who he is and have never heard about his case is upsetting to me. So even though I didn't know him on a personal level, I feel a moral obligation to keep his name and case alive. Not only because my parents loved and cared about him, but because I have met and spoken with so many other people who loved and cared about him. If there is one thing I know for a fact, it's that Israel is loved and missed by many. Thank you everyone for tuning into this episode. Josh and I couldn't line up our schedules for this one, unfortunately, but we both will be back for the following episode. I will have a wild Reddit link to this Israel Ray Smith case. It is a very bizarre one, and it hits home, near the New River Valley. Like, what happened to him, guys? He just vanished. It makes zero sense. If you have your opinion and would like to share, call the Cryptic Hotline and leave a voicemail via 615-447-8258. Email the podcast at itscrypticouthere@gmail.com. Lastly, watch your back. It's cryptic out there.